Good morning, class. Welcome to our Chapter 12 lesson on sensory mechanisms. So as we talked about earlier in Chapter 11, we looked at the nervous system and how neurons function to pass signals throughout our body. In the sensory mechanisms piece, we're going to talk specifically about how those different mechanisms function together to give us the senses that we talk about when you're interacting with the world around you. So part one here talks about stimulus versus receptors. Stimulus is a sensory input that causes some changes within or outside the body. Things like heat, pressure, sound waves, light, and chemicals. Each of these is a stimulus your body can receive. You're going to see here in a moment we have a couple of different kinds of receptors that can gather this stimulus. Heat is something, obviously, if you go outside on a sunny day, you can sense heat. Pressure would be if you are maybe swimming or diving in the ocean, you might feel pressure around you. Sound waves, as you can probably tell from the audio here, is with interacting with your ear. Light, vision, and then chemical would be smells and tastes. So as I mentioned, each of these stimuli has a particular type of receptor that can gather that information, and it has to turn that information into neurotransmittables that your brain and nervous system can interpret. So we've got our 5 different kinds of receptors. Receptors are structures that detect stimuli and convert its energy into another form. The first one is mechanoreceptors. These respond to mechanical energy. You'll notice for each of these, the name of the receptor kind of tells what it can sense. The next one is thermoreceptors. Thermo, or you see the word thermometer, that's going to deal with heat and cold. When we sense different changes in temperature, we're using the thermoreceptors to receive that information. After that, we have our pain receptors. These respond to tissue damage or excessive heat or pressure. Pain receptors can be found throughout the body and are basically geared towards keeping your tissue safe. So this would be if you cut yourself or you get a bad scratch, your body recognizes that the damage has been done and you can do something about it. Fourth one is chemoreceptors. As you see the word chemo or chemical in there, these receptors respond to the presence of different kinds of chemicals. And lastly, photoreceptors. We see this word photo. Photo goes with the word light. So these receptors respond to light. We're going to dive a little deeper into each of these. This table you see, table 12.1, is found in your text and showcases these 5 different kinds of receptors: mechano, thermo, pain, chemo, and photo. And it digs into the types of sensations you'll feel, as well as some examples of those sensations. Different receptors are located more specifically in certain places on your body, and we'll discuss the locations here in just a bit. What is the goal for these receptors? The central nervous system, as we talked about, is in charge of understanding and interpreting information that it receives from throughout your body. So the central nervous system is going to interpret these nerve impulses based on where they come from, that's origin, and their frequency. How strong are these senses hitting you? Nerve impulses are transmitted from receptors to certain parts of the brain, and we looked at some of these parts: the olfactory area, we talked about the temporal lobe. These different areas of the brain, the frontal cortex, frontal lobe, take in data and information from the sensors and then interpret that information and decide what to do next. When they're receiving information, the stronger the stimuli, the more receptors are going to be activated. And as we get more receptors activated, it's going to trigger a bigger response in the brain. More response, more receptors gives you just a bigger action potential, and it becomes more apparent for that reception. It's kind of like the difference between stepping on hot sand or stepping on really, really, really hot blacktop or stepping into lava. So your body would recognize the differences in those different stimuli and the frequency of the stimuli to give you a different response. You know, if you step on hot sand or hot blacktop, it may hurt your foot. If you step in hot lava, you're definitely doing damage to your body. Sometimes we have adaptations. So if, for example, our body is getting used to a situation, we want to be able to focus on things that are going to keep us alive, and so we have to kind of numb down the things that aren't going to necessarily keep us from dying, if that makes sense. Sensory adaptation allows the central nervous system to concentrate on important stimuli and ignore the non-critical things that aren't going to really bother us in staying in homeostasis. Here's an example. If you're sitting in a classroom, you might hear a clock tick, like the second hand on the clock, it might be ticking, but that's not going to be a situation where your body needs to hear and notice that ticking of the clock. So your body will just adapt and just kind of forget about it. Even though it's still happening, even though your eardrums are still catching that signification, it's not going to really matter too much because it's not life or death. So some things like that will become kind of adapted. Interestingly enough, if you're a hunter and you go out in the woods and you go hunting, when you sit out there for a while, the quiet of the forest kind of overtakes you, and that's where your body is able to like ignore certain things. So like when I go hunting, I might hear a squirrel running around and I recognize it's just a squirrel. It's not a 10-pointer walking toward my stand. So that's sensory adaptation. Some receptors can adapt. For example, light, touch, pressure, and smell can adapt. So if you walk into a classroom and someone's wearing a lot of perfume, your body might get used to that smell and it won't be quite as big of a deal as you're sitting in that room for a while. Same is true for light pressure and light touch. Like maybe the tag of your t-shirt is scratching the back of your neck. Over time, your body's going to just say, well, we're not doing anything about that. It's not going to kill us. So we're just going to not worry about that sensation of that itchy tag on our shirt. Some of your receptors, however, do not adapt. Things like pain and joint position and muscle monitoring adapters, these do not adapt. So if you say you get a splinter in your finger, your body is going to continue to recognize, oh, we have a splinter in our finger, that's no good, until you get that splinter out. Because in order to stay alive, you don't want to have a splinter poking you in the finger, getting your finger infected, and causing you to have to amputate your finger. So your body will continue to recognize that there's a problem until you fix it. So adaptation sometimes happens in our different types of stimuli. Continuing on, we break down our senses into two subsets. We have the somatic sensations and then our special senses. Somatic sensations are ones that arise throughout the body and can be sensed kind of anywhere. So temperature, pressure, touch, vibration, pain, and body awareness, body position awareness, these are going to be anywhere. So if say there's a campfire and you put your hand over the campfire, you're going to feel heat on your hand. If you put your foot over the campfire, you're going to feel heat on your foot. If you put your forehead over the campfire, you're going to feel heat on your forehead. That's because those somatic sensations are located throughout your body. We have special senses too, and the special senses, those are located in more specific places. So for example, and this may seem a little silly, taste is located on your tongue, smell is located inside your nose, hearing is inside your ears, balance is actually also located inside your ears, excuse me, and vision is located in your eyes. These special senses have a particular place they're located. You may notice the majority of them are found in your head, and we'll talk about why that is in a bit. And that's it for lesson 12.1.